Welcome, Internet, to the PixelPlay podcast, your weekly podcast where we get together to discuss all the news, rumors, and discussions going on in the video game world. Some call us the best gaming podcast there is out there. Who are those people? Are they us? Maybe. Hard to say. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Gamescom Opening Night Jeff Keighley event that happened hours ago. We're going to talk about Sony getting sued for ripping off developers through the PlayStation Store. We're going to be talking about Xbox firing back on PlayStation, complaining about exclusivity and fighting to keep games off of Game Pass. And we're going to be talking about the shovelware problem that we have on a lot of e-stores. If you like that and you want to hear more, you could wherever you get your podcast by searching for PixelPlay Podcast or seeing us on YouTube or Spotify if you want to see our lovely faces while we do that. This week, I am joined by my newest co-hosts, Jin and Chris, who is covering for Adam, who's currently been gotten by the coronavirus. He's now working as technical producer behind the scenes and may jump in. But yeah, Jin and Chris, thank you so much for joining and taking over and auditioning for Adam's spot as host.
Yes, an audition. I knew it. My plan of slowly giving him COVID somehow and then stealing his role. It's working. It's working.
Sending him letters and just licking the envelope and sending him.
This is just an empty envelope. What is this?
Why is Chris sending me just empty envelopes? And why is it moist?
You know, it's bold of you to assume that I was even trying to take over this role. Like, it's adorable that you think that, you know, this is a role that's, you know, like, not up for grabs. I've been trying to get out of this for a while because Kaylan's been trying to replace me forever.
Yeah, the problem is
it's working
hard to replace you.
Yeah.
And then we need you, Adam. Like, clearly none of us know how to press the red record button because we didn't have an episode last week.
That's true.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
I know. Yeah. That's why we keep you here, because we have no idea what the hell we're doing.
Not a clue.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, if you are not familiar with Chris's voice, he is the co-host for our sister podcast, Cartridges and Quarters, where you can find them every Saturday morning at 12. I guess Saturday afternoon. I guess 12 o'clock falls on noon, technically. But yes, Saturday at 12. Get your Ninja Turtles pajamas on, grab your cereal, and you can check out the podcast every Saturday morning as you watch your cartoons. Chris, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Gamescom? Do you want us to talk about Sony? Where do you want to go?
I say we hop right into Gamescom because I just watched it like an hour ago, so it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start. There's a ton of games going through. I figured let's kind of like, I don't want to go through all of them because there's quite a bit of games, but let's go first. What were some of the big announcements? And then we'll talk about our overall impression on it. So what kind of stood out to you as the exciting games that were announced?
There was one near the end that I actually got the most excited for, which is funny because it's one of the least exciting ones that was there. Can't remember its name, which is how unexcited I guess I was for that one. But it was a amusement park simulator, kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Planet Coaster. Seemed like the exact same thing that we've already seen, but I'm a big PC, like, you know, building corporation coaster amusement park simulator kind of management game. I love those simulation games. They're so much fun. I'd actually just finished 100%ing 2 Point Campus off of PC Game Pass. So for me, it was, you know, I saw that and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I need more of. I love when a new one comes out. I get all excited for it until the $300 worth of DLC gets added on after the fact. But I would say that honestly was the biggest one for me, which is kind of, again, ironic because it's one of the least biggest of the announcements that were there today.
Yeah. For me, the one that kind of that caught my attention from a gameplay perspective, Dune Awakening. I'm a Dune fan sucker, and with the movies and stuff, I've been like reading the books, so I'm right in the Dune universe. I don't know how I feel about an MMO, but I feel like, honestly, did you ever read the books or did you watch the movie or anything, Chris?
I have bought the first book, but I am yet to read a page.
It's my favorite book of all time. But yeah, that world just makes so much sense for an MMO. So I don't know. It's gotten me in on the IP and it looks good. It looks interesting. So I'm down for that. But we'll have to see what the gameplay turns out for. Some other ones that kind of stood out for me. I kind of thought that the what's it called? The one where you're like it's like in a theater or something like that. Like a hack and slash. That one was pretty neat. The other
Oh
one I kind of
yes.
yeah, it kind of had a neat like aesthetic and neat graphics. Sand is your wet sand. The Atlas Fallen one, the one where like you're using sand and like controlling it. That seemed kind of cool. And follow my logic here. I can kind of see getting like an Infamous vibe from that, in the sense of like,
Yes.
yeah, where you've got this power, you can kind of just drain it, collect it. I don't know. I didn't see any gameplay, but I kind of got weirdly an Infamous vibe from it. I don't know if
Yeah.
like
No,
you
I
could do that.
definitely see it now that you've mentioned it.
Mhm.
It's all I actually can see.
Yeah,
It's just a sequel to Infamous. It's another one.
it's exactly yeah. It's just this the spiritual successor, and then the Expanse. Those were the three that kind of stood out for me as like really
Yes.
cool
I
games. The Expanse is
love
amazing.
The Expanse and the fact that it's being done. Deck Nine, I think, is the developer's name. They do
Yeah.
like the episodic kind of style games. I'm very excited for that one, especially since they actually got the actress in from the show, which is
Mhm.
amazing because they don't
Yeah.
always do that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see that one. I think that's good. Return to Monkey Island, it had a really funny trailer. I'd never played the game, so I don't have that nostalgia for it. But I
Same.
thought the way that they were doing it was really funny, like having that marketing guy up there doing like the whole jargon and offering pre-orders of like the horse armor if you pre-order it, it'll look great in your inventory, like that kind of stuff. I thought that was really
Like, I'm
smart.
pretty sure that's a real pre-order bonus too. Like, I don't even
Yeah,
think they're joking. And they admit in the trailer that it's useless. Like, you don't even have a horse in the game. It just sits in your inventory.
yeah,
Yeah, I haven't
exactly.
played the games either, but I know the humor of them, and that falls right in line with the humor of the games.
And you know what? That's a perfect way of doing it because people like us who didn't play it, like we're not clamoring for that. But I was watching it and I'm looking at this humor and I'm like, this is really funny. Like this is kind of making
Yeah,
me want to play the game. Uh
100%.
Speaking of humor, I was watching the trailer for Tortuga, A Pirate's Tale, and you know Ubisoft is just like, damn it! Like there's another pirate game that's exactly like ours, and it also looks terrible.
It does. Yeah, the Tortuga, when I was seeing that one, I was like, oh, I actually thought it may have been Skull and Bones for a second, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this looks worse than I was expecting. But then it turned out to be yet another pirate game, and I was like, oh, I'm not excited for this. This is like Sea of Thieves. I keep getting the urge to try it,
Mhm.
because that kind of looks like a fun sandboxy like online game. But it's because also it's not a game you'd really take too seriously. Like you're a pirate, you go around, you do your fun stuff with your friends while you chat, maybe drink a beer while you play.
Oh, you
But
have to
the
drink
other,
when you're playing Sea of Thieves. That's the true pirate experience.
yeah, exactly. Um, but the other ones, like they seem like they're trying to be too serious. Like, oh no, you're gonna like sink ships and everything. It's like I don't want to take it too seriously. I'd rather just, if I was going to try one, just Sea of Thieves, which keeps getting all these free updates and everything too. And at least the reviews are out that show that it's not a pile of crap. So it's at least know you could. Also, it's on Game Pass like forever, so I can just
Yeah,
play it without worrying about the financial hardship.
yeah. I'm just gonna do rapid fire. You tell me if it looked good or not. I'm gonna go with some of the big ones. You just thumbs up, thumbs down. Just do you think it showed off well? Callisto Protocol.
That one I thought was pretty cool.
Yep,
I'm not into scary games, but
it looked good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Lord of the Fallen, their new game.
yeah. I mean,
Eh,
like almost indifferent. Like it looked okay, looked good. I don't have anything bad to say about it, but it's not like
yeah.
I'm excited for it either.
We got another look at Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh,
How'd that come?
I'm excited because I'm hopeful, but I'm definitely gonna wait until their reviews are out to make sure it's actually good. I hope
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah. Tales of the Borderland.
I still haven't played the last one, but I mean it's a Borderlands humor, so I assume it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So thumbs
Uh,
up.
Sonic Frontier basically being sent out to die, coming out the day
Yeah.
before God of
Oh.
War.
Yeah, first of all, yes, that is definitely. And that game, like, I don't know, like as a huge Sonic fan, as you can see,
Yeah,
I'm hopeful that it's a good game, but like so far, my hope is at about 3%, and my doubt is at like 97%. So
yeah.
I guess we'll have to see.
We got another trailer for High on Life.
That I love Rick and Morty as a show, and I like the humor that they were showing in the gameplay. I just don't know if it's a game I actually want to play or more just like listen to the banter of.
Gotham Knights.
The thing is, they've been putting out a lot of like character trailers for that one, and I don't know, it looks okay, and then it looks kind of like, I don't know, maybe a little boring in the combat and stuff. So I keep going back and forth on that one. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna wait for reviews.
So my question to you overall is, what's your general sense of the show? Were you impressed? Were you excited? Like, did this get you hyped up, or did it feel a bit more of a slog? Because it was a long show.
It was a long show. I thought it was kind of too long. As I was going through it, there's a lot of stuff they try and throw in the middle. There was like a few awards for like the most anticipated PC game and everything like that, which like I was kind of just fast forwarding through those. Didn't feel necessary. I like that it was a live show on a stage and there was people there for the live reactions and stuff. I thought it was actually kind of funny sometimes where Jeff was like, "Oh, does anybody remember Homelander? Because they're making a new one," and like it was just silence in the audience because the second game was in like the '90s and they're just now making another one. I think it's called Homelander. And it was like they're expecting clapping and they're just getting silence, and that kind of made me laugh because in the virtual presentations they've had, that was never an issue. I don't think they were anticipating that. I did feel it was a little too long. There was a bit of filler, and I don't know, the excitement that was there for like the pre-COVID E3s and stuff. I mean, it was already kind of going down, but I don't know. It just none of these seem to have the same hype that they used to.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to kind of lean into. Is like we're now starting to get back into a post-COVID world, and I know it's still going on, and like all that stuff, but like we're getting back into that. We've had a couple years now where doing a show online isn't anything new anymore, and I don't know. For me, I feel like there's a lack of like the energy, the excitement, and the hype is gone. And do you think this is a symptom of COVID, and just we're still just not having a lot of games come out yet? Is it a matter of too many shows? Like, what do you think is causing these lackluster performances, or these not lackluster, but these highs and lows, like these varying successes? And I don't think anything has yet captured the excitement of what E3 was, in the early to mid, or the mid to late, teens kind of thing.
Yeah. I think one big part is just the way they were delivering it. Like before at E3, the big ones that at least I would watch would be like, all right, Microsoft has a presentation, Sony's got a presentation, Nintendo, Bethesda, and Ubisoft or something, and maybe EA. Probably not EA, but those were the big ones. And
Yeah.
they'd maybe be 45 minutes to an hour. And yes, they'd go out on stage and make the big, presentation about it. But there was a pattern to it. It was like start small and kind of build up to like these bigger reveals near the end, especially right at the end. There was like, and now here's our big thing, and it would be like a new Assassin's Creed or
One more thing.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now it just seems like they're just all the games are kind of just like that middle area. They're not the little things right at the beginning necessarily, because some of them are kind of bigger, but there was no big announcements that we didn't already hear about. So with Sonic Frontier and I don't know, it was some of the games from today, we'd already heard about them, whether it's through a leak or just the online space. Like I have an RSS feed on my phone where I have all my gaming news feeds go there, and I have like 400 articles from today. But like all the news is delivered to us instantly. So there's no build up unless it's literally announced there. But everything that was kept as a world premiere, none of them were just this huge monster reveal. All of those were already kind of shown. It was more like, here's another trailer, here's a little bit more gameplay footage or whatever. Where the E3s before, it was like you'd get there, they'd announce 5 things from one company, like Square Enix would have their thing, and it'd be like, here's Final Fantasy 14, and here's, this game, and here's that, and here's this, and here's that. And all of it was big, and it just felt like it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was like a 40-minute span or an hour, and it was done. So I think they've just completely changed the delivery where all these companies or smaller companies have come together. Jeff goes out on stage and announces all these medium kind of games, like right in the middle. They're, probably AAA or AA or whatever they may be. They look good, but there's no like big moment. And because it's already been stolen by just being announced, 3 weeks prior, just on the internet through a trailer on YouTube or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think that is part of the problem. I think having the idea of just, we're getting leaks, we're getting like spoilers and all that kind of stuff for getting sent out to us on the internet, which definitely takes away some of that excitement. I mean, there's like several games that were either leaked or even announced. Like Jeff Keighley would come online on Twitter and be like, "Hey, we're having this game appear or whatever," which kind of takes away that surprise. I think it is also a matter, games have been impacted by COVID in terms of getting those developed, so there's probably not as much coming down the pipe. But I think there's something to be said of like the format of E3 and the fact that before, like now we have developers and publishers, doing streams almost every couple months. There's something going on, and it's just so spread out that nobody's just like shooting their full shot kind of thing and like going all guns blazing. It's a slow trickle now as opposed to, blasting all the cannons kind of thing, going with the whole pirate theme. Before, when it was E3, you had 5 or 6 different, publishers there, and they would go out with everything they had because they were competing with, the people before them and the people after them to get that attention. And so you had these people come in, you had the publishers coming with, big press conferences with big announcements to steal that show, to steal that news cycle, that they're competing. Now that we're not doing that, there's not that impetus to them for them to like go out and do it. They're just going kind of announcing stuff as they want to when they need to, and it's kind of becoming lackluster. Whereas before there was that sort of competition to be the best in show, and I think maybe having these kind of spread out events might be what's doing it. I was like you, I didn't find this. It wasn't bad, but I don't find that we're getting a lot of those get hype moments anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and like you were saying, it's not like the publishers are waiting and building up to this one reveal in the year. Like you said, they're trickling out throughout the year. So the PlayStation had the like Elite controller or whatever at Gamescom that was announced. And like again, that would have been part of Sony's E3 presentation. And it wasn't the big reveal. It was one of those things in the middle where they would show a couple games. Here's a new controller. Also, boom, here's a new God of War. And then it would like build to it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here that were good announcements, and that PlayStation Elite controller was neat. And like, I'm excited to see what it does and how it works. But, it's another, what would be a middle kind of pause in a show. And I feel like a lot of these shows now are just taking those middle kind of pauses where it's exciting and it's definitely stuff that people get excited about, but it's not something that's going to wow us in that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Overall, it wasn't a bad show, but I find that as I'm watching more and more of these press conferences and the fact that there's more and more of them, that the hype for each one is starting to wane to the point that I'm not like, I don't look at it like, oh, awesome, I'm excited to watch this. And I know I don't have to watch this, but like, there's an excitement of like, there used to be an excitement. Like I used to take or schedule days when I was in class to just skip and just watch E3. Now I'm like, I'll watch the trailers when they come out like a little while later. And that's it. And that's indicative of the fact that there's a lot of time where I feel bored or I'm wasting time watching this. Whereas before it was not the case.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. Completely agree.
Yeah. Anyways, other news from this week, big one that came out is that Sony is getting sued for $5 billion for ripping people off on PlayStation Store. So this is coming from Eurogamer.net. Ed Nightingale, they report Sony's being sued for $5 billion accused of ripping people off on its online store. The legal claim is led by ex-managing director of Which UK, Alex Neil, and was filed for the Competition Appeal Tribunal last week. It claims by charging a 30% commission on digital games and in-game purchases on the PlayStation Store, Sony is in breach of competition law. Sony is accused of abusing market power by imposing unfair terms and conditions on games and developers and publishers, forcing prices up for consumers, reports Sky News. Legal action states consumers have been overcharged by as much as $5 billion. Anyone in the UK who has purchased content in the store since the 19th of August 2016 is included in the claim and is potentially entitled to compensation, said to be 9 million people. This would put the estimated damages per claimant between $67 and $562, excluding interest. The 30% cut from Sony is an industry standard in line with other companies like Microsoft, Steam, and the App Store. It's unclear exactly why Sony is the sole target of this claim. So I'm not going to go into the full thing, but Chris, is Sony in the wrong here? Are we getting ripped off by the PlayStation Network, and is this unfair to developers?
I mean, at this point, I think that 30% it could be worth to look at it, but I don't think it's specifically Sony because it is weird that they're being, kind of solely looked at right here. But Valve has been looked at before. They were one of the first. I think Epic started that. The Epic Game Store started that with Valve with Steam, and now has their own store, and it's like a much lower percentage and stuff. Then actually, I think it was Epic again went after Apple, which then pulled in Google because again they had the same thing. Now it's Sony, and it seems like there's one of them gets sued or that goes to court. It comes back to like, nah, you know what, the 30%, it's their store. There's nothing we can really do here. Move on. Next one gets sued, and now it's Sony's turn. I guess the 30%, like when I hear it, it does sound kind of high now, kind of. I'm not a developer, obviously, and it's kind of like if I made a game and it sold $1 million and I had to give 300,000 away, I'd still be like, but I just made 700,000. So, I mean, I don't feel like if it was 50%, 60%, 70%, like obviously anything like that, then yeah, purely being ripped off. I think it could be a possibility now, especially with all the DLC and everything that companies come out with, that maybe the 30% is a little high. Because if you think of all of the transactions that happen with so many games, that 30% really, really does add up to these stores. But I don't think anybody's getting ripped off. I think it could be a little too high. Maybe 20% or something would make more sense. Again, I'm not actually in any of the finances or in the gaming industry or a developer. But if it was like, all right, you know what, we've determined 30% is a little high, let's put it down to 20, and then the industry just went with 20, I'd be like, oh, good for developers. Like, that's a good change. I'm sure everybody will still make enough money to survive here. Like, I don't imagine Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft or Valve or whoever wouldn't be able to survive on that 20%. But again, yeah, I don't think that anybody's getting ripped off. That was the standard from the beginning, which made sense. At least, I don't know, to me it did. Maybe now, again, all the DLC, it doesn't. I know, though, that as soon as one of these lawsuits or whatever goes through, and Sony's, told by court, like, no, you got to only do 20%, or say they change it, something like that, it's going to change the industry because everybody's going to have to follow suit. As soon as one of them caves, people, like, if Sony does it, they're 20%, everybody else is still 30%, developers are going to go over to Sony and be like, listen, we're going to go on your platform, you're 20%. And then they're going to be mad at Nintendo or Microsoft. Like, why is Sony 20 and you're still staying at 30? That's not fair. And it's just going to trickle down and to everything. Every app store, every eShop, all of them. It only will take one. So maybe that's why it does keep happening, because the industry is like, all right, we'll try one at a time, because eventually one of them will not pass this lawsuit.
Yeah, I feel like Sony's an obvious target of like let's call it the big three consoles, because I think Nintendo still has a huge amount of physical. I think that's where most people buy their Nintendo stuff, is through physical, simply because it just retains its value so much. Xbox, let's be honest, no one's bought an Xbox game physically in years. Like, no one's bought an Xbox game. We're all using Game Pass on Xbox.
Just Game Pass, yeah.
Exactly. So I think Sony's really the only one, or probably the biggest one, with a digital robust system, especially the fact that they have like the digital only console. And let's be honest, up until 2 months ago, there wasn't really a Game Pass equivalent. So yeah, you were buying your stuff physically there. As for like, is the 30% outrageous or a ripoff to people? I don't think so. I think that there's a lot that you don't consider when you're looking at the eShop. I mean, first of all, there could be an argument being made that, it's like the Apple Store or it's like Google Play, where you don't have a situation where, you have to go through it. But you don't. Unless you bought the digital console, which I think I was on record saying why that was a bad idea. Like, you're not beholden to PlayStation Network to buy the games. Like, you could go to physical stores to buy your games there. So there's another avenue. It's not like the App Store or the Play, where you have to go through that one or you're not getting anything. There are workarounds. But I think there's also a lot of cost and maintenance and price that goes into hosting an online store that I don't know necessarily if it's fair that Sony has to pay for that. So, I mean, all those games that you're purchasing off the PlayStation Network, those are running on servers, and those servers aren't cheap. Not only that, but you have to maintain those servers. You have to run them 24/7 in different markets. And so, like, there is a cost inherent to that, running them constantly. Like, if there's a game, let's say for example, Killzone Shadowfall, the PS4 game that was that was the release game. I think you can still buy that on PS4. So that game has been on the console for almost 10 years, sitting on that server. And you're maintaining that server, you're holding it, like you're running it, you have to cool it, you have to upgrade it, maintain it. Like there's a lot of cost to run an online marketplace. And so I don't know if it's necessarily unfair that PlayStation says, "Hey, we need a cut of that." Because yeah, 30% sounds a lot. And when your game is being sold for 60, $70 a pop, that's a lot. But these games do dwindle in price, and so they've been hosting Killzone Shadowfall since 2014, and it's probably now $10, and so they're not getting paid to host Shadowfall every month or every year or whatever. And I know it's a PlayStation exclusive, whatever, but let's take it for example, right?
Yeah.
The idea that it costs them money every year, every month to host that on their PlayStation Network, and it may not get much sales. So charging that 30% up front, when the game is high price, yeah, it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but that is they're making their money up front, and that they're going to start spending it, and they're not going to have that revenue to cover those costs as the game goes on being hosted. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of costs that go into managing an online storefront that I don't think 30% is unreasonable to host a game, especially if you're going to host it in perpetuity. Because look, well, they had a little while ago where they were saying, "Hey, we're shutting down the PlayStation." I think it was PlayStation 3 and the PSP collections, and people went up in arms. And it's like, well, no one's buying this stuff. They're still paying to host it. So when they're paying that, charging that 30%, it's because they don't know when or if they can take down that storefront for that particular game.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. If anybody thinks that, there should be no cut at all, if there's anything along those lines, or it should be 5%, that's impossible. That makes no sense because it is definitely expensive to run all of those servers for every country that sells the PlayStation all around the world, in the different currencies and all that different data and all the different stuff. And like, that's a lot. And it's not like they don't have employees that are, every time they do, like, all right, well, we're having a sale, we got to go in and update all these prices. There's people doing that. There's workers. It's not cheap.
Not only that, but you've got like IT people whose job it is to just sit and wait for the server to go down. And when it does, it's their job to go and fix it. Like, they're computers. Those things fail. Those things don't last forever. And so they are constantly putting money. They're putting money into it no matter what. No matter how old the system is, they're either having to replace it or repair it. And that's a constant cost. It's not something you buy once and it's set it and forget it.
Yeah.
So.
No, exactly. Yeah. So there's definitely a cost. There's that 30%. I mean, if it's too high and it's like, you know what? No, the industry standard should be 27%. Yeah, sure, fine. If that made sense. But I don't think it's far off. And I don't think at any point it's unfair.
Yeah. Speaking of the PlayStation Store, I want to shift to another topic that came up a couple weeks ago while we were off. It's the idea that Sony's maybe taking note of the shovelware problem that they're having. There's been a bit of change on the PlayStation Store in that Sony is going to start changing what games get announced and which come to the forefront. So this is coming from PlayStation Lifestyle. They are talking about the shovelware, and they said, as noted by NeoGAF user via Xpeter, Sony seems to have updated how the PlayStation sorts new games by ensuring that the relevant section highlights proper games as opposed to jumping games. And these are the ones where you press X and you get a platinum trophy, as they're rightfully called. The shovelware still exists, but it's been buried a little bit further down. So when you do open the PlayStation Store app or the console storefront, you're not slapped in the face with easy trophy games when browsing new releases. The PlayStation Store now reverted back to the best-selling games as the default sorting. So, first of all, Chris, let's confirm: does Sony, and let's be honest, Nintendo and Xbox, all those e-stores that we've been talking about this week, do they have a problem? Like, is there a problem with bloatware? Are they getting buried in shovelware?
I think that there is a bunch of shovelware just on the systems for sure. I see it especially in the Nintendo eShop, but that's because of the way that the eShop displays its discounted games, its game deals. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe the first 3 that show up are like first party Nintendo games or something, but then everything after that, I have no idea what the order is. It's just it's the Wild West when it comes to that. But you'll see so much stuff and it'll be like, oh, 1,300 games are on sale. And it's the only way you can really look through them. And you'll see so much stuff where it's like, oh, it's only 99 cents and it's on sale for the next 3 months. And it's normally, $20. It's like, oh, okay. So clearly they, put this on sale all the time because they actually just want to sell that $1. And it's this stupid little game that probably takes an hour to play and beat and it's done. I've seen some on the PlayStation Store as well. I don't see them brought to the forefront or anything like that, especially compared to the Nintendo eShop or especially compared to Steam. Steam, obviously, being a PC platform, for a bad point there, like in the new releases and stuff, there'd be like one good AAA game, and in that same day, like 45 really low quality, like bloatware, whatever games are thrown in there. I think all of the e stores have them on there. But though I would have to give kudos to Sony that I don't really see it brought to the forefront of the store ever unless I go to like view everything on sale and I scroll that long that all of a sudden I'm seeing like, oh, I've gone too far.
Yeah, I find especially when it comes to sales, and you're totally right that it is Nintendo definitely has this problem, but Sony does as well in that there is a lot of problems in the stores and that it's hard to find things. There's a lot of shovelware. You get like a lot of Unity projects that kind of, especially like a little while ago when you had like the Roblox kind of clones and stuff where it's just that
Yeah.
square look. Like there's a lot of bloatware on PlayStation and all the stores, to be honest. It's not a PlayStation exclusive problem. And I think, to be honest, it's a double-edged sword. One, it makes me not want to, it cheapens and it makes me not want to try these smaller games because if there's so many of them and like they can't all be good quality, and so you lose that sort of, like Nintendo used to have like that seal of quality that like, hey,
Yes.
this is a good game, like we can attest to it. Were they all? No, but like there was a certain aspect that that there's been some assurance that this is a decent, competent game. Whereas now it's just garbage. Like there is just so much out there that being on the PlayStation Network, being on the Nintendo eShop, being on Steam is not a guarantee anymore that there's some level of polish or completion to this game. It literally can put anything on there. And so me as a consumer, it one makes it harder for me to navigate your store, but also like I don't want to play these games and I don't want to spend my money because I can't differentiate what is good and what is not. From a developer standpoint, I also am not a big fan of this because the ones out there who are putting effort, who are putting real time and effort into their games, they're getting lost in a sea of mediocrity and crap. And so
Yes.
the good indie games, like the ones who are talented and making effort and put, and maybe not having a perfect game, but have put some time and effort into making something of quality, it's now getting lost in the ether and that it's not standing out, or it's not giving its time to shine. You're throwing a bucket of water into an ocean and it just dissipates. So I think both sides, it's a problem, and I think that it needs to be rectified. So my question to you is like, what would you like? How does someone like Sony or a Nintendo rectify this?
Yeah, it's tough because in order to actually go in and have a look at everything, like you'd have to get a human to go in
Mhm.
and actually play the games, or if a game's being released, have somebody actually look at it before it's put on the store and everything.
Mhm.
Kind of like that Nintendo seal of quality that they used to have. You know, that's really what I guess they should have been doing, but I understand why they weren't because if you have like 2,000 games applications a day that
Mhm.
developers and because it's like probably not all great games, but you get all the shovelware and everything thrown in there. How are you going to have a team of people looking over that many games every single day and making sure that they're good before they end up on the store? So I understand why they didn't at first do that, or
Mhm.
probably still aren't doing it now. But that makes it really hard on what to do going forward because there's so much already in there. So there's kind of two problems. There's the new ones being added and the ones that are already in there and need to kind of be filtered out. I'm assuming the easier thing would be to just start filtering them somehow using some sort of algorithm or something. It finds a game that's, that has average play time or average like trophy or achievement unlock time or something like that. If a game, most people have only played it for 20 minutes, they have the platinum trophy, and that's the last they ever played it. Probably some sort of like a bloatware kind of thing. So they can, push that. I'm sure they can't kick it off the store, but at least they can create like another heading, and have it kind of pushed back. pushed it so when there is a sale, at least that's everything you just see at the bottom. That way, it's
Yeah.
if you're scrolling through, once you hit that stuff, you're like, oh, I'm done. This is as far as I go. I'm not going any further. So they're still there, but at least they're pushed all the way to the bottom. Because I don't see how to get rid of them. They're already on the store. And I don't know how to kind of filter everything going on because you'd need an actual person to check it before it gets released. And I think that's just a really big ask, like financially, to hire that many people to just do that only.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think, like, one, no, you can't filter through every single game. What I'd like to see them do is almost do something akin to like a trusted partner sort of thing, a trusted developer. So have it that, if you've made games for, this system before, you have a couple successes, people generally like it, you could apply to become a trusted partner. And so that way you can filter games by, hey, here's our trusted partners. And it could be anything from like a Konami, and like, I know it's probably a weird choice, but like have a BioWare, have your Ubisoft, like have those ones where it's like, hey, you know what? These are legitimate game companies making games. You can argue the quantity or the quality and all that stuff. But, and then here are some, up and coming developers who maybe you don't know, but like they've made some games, they've been successful, they've sold a significant amount, and like there's a genuine sense of quality. And then there's the unfiltered, like this can be anything from, Billy in grade 11 programming class made a like an asteroids clone, to here's your trophy hunting sort of spam games. It's a wild west. You don't know what you're getting. There could be some good, there could be some bad, but you are out there on your own, and that way you can kind of filter. And what would happen is that after you've published X amount of games, and once again, you can't spam it and be like, hey, I've released 6 games this year, because that's not possible. But if you said, hey,
No.
I've released 3 games in the last 3 years or something like that, and I have X amount of sales or games played or whatever, you can then apply to be a trusted partner, at which point you get that sort of Sony seal of approval, where it's not, hey, we've guaranteed that this particular game is, but here is a developer who has a track record of showing that they are making quality games that are not just bloated. And then that way consumers like you and I can kind of decide, are we feeling to explore and find out up and coming developers, or are we looking for someone who maybe has a little pedigree and can kind of has shown it that they can do some stuff. That's kind of what I'd like to see.
I honestly, I hadn't thought of that idea, and that's genius. Because the only other idea I had was like some sort of a user-based review system where you can actually post like, oh, this is bloatware. Like on Steam, I know they've got like the different tags you can apply, and it's the users that do it. But I can see again how people would, not like that there's a female lead on a new Square Enix game. So they go in and they tag it as bloatware, and enough people do it, it gets screwed up in the system. Users will not always be good.
Yeah, I think what it is like, I like your algorithm idea, and I think that's the way you have to do it, that there's a certain amount of algorithm involved, that you have to hit certain benchmarks that can be just designed by a computer system to validate. And then once you hit those metrics, then you can pay to apply to have someone at Sony go through your games and just say like, yep, this is someone who has a certain pedigree that we recognize as a trusted developer. And we kind of give them that stamp of approval that, we stand by the quality of their games.
Yeah, I really like that, because if it's, instead of trying to tackle one game at a time, it's the developer. Because if you get like an Ubisoft, perfect, you're good. If it's either developed or published by them, you're good to just release it. You can know it's trusted, it's going to be in the quality. Whereas it's not like, whoever made Shovel Knight isn't obviously going in and making bloatware also on the side, like, haha, we got them, right? Like there's the good developers, and then there's the developers just doing the bloatware. So going by the developer would be a lot easier.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just how I'd like to see it be done. So, yeah. Continuing with the theme of storefronts this week. I want to go back to a couple weeks ago. We were talking about the report that came out and as a result of Brazil's Administrative Council for Economic Defense, talking about the acquisition of Blizzard by Xbox. And they had a bunch of developers and publishers kind of respond, including Sony. And so Microsoft fired back, claiming that Sony pays developers for blocking rights in return for them agreeing not to put their content on Xbox Game Pass. So this is coming from Video Game Chronicles by Chris Scullion. So They write, as part of a document sent to Brazil's Administrative Council for Economic Defense to justify its proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the Xbox firm claimed that Sony actively attempted to inhibit growth of Game Pass by trying to prevent content appearing on it. The comments are part of Microsoft's response to Sony's claim to the Brazilian body, which makes much of its responses public, that Xbox acquiring Call of Duty would be anti-competitive. They say, considering the exclusive strategies that have been at the core of Sony's strategy to strengthen its presence in the games industry, and that Sony is a leader in the distribution of digital games, Sony's concern with the possible exclusivity of Activision content is incoherent to say the least, Microsoft claims. So basically what they're saying, it claims Microsoft's ability to continue to expand Game Pass has been obstructed by Sony's desire to inhibit such growth. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services. And I think there was a comment being made that Cult of the Lamb was actually Sony paid to have that not be appear on Game Pass, and so. Chris, is this Sony being anti-competitive? Does this kind of defeat their argument of Xbox putting Call of Duty exclusive? Like, what do you make of this? Do you think it's a justified decision for PlayStation to pay to keep things off Game Pass, or does this make them hypocrites with their concern that Activision's going?
If this is actually what Sony is doing, I mean, I don't personally like it because I wouldn't want I think that games should just be on everything. Like if it's on Game Pass and on the PlayStation Store and on the Switch, obviously depending on hardware and quality, if it's a AAA huge game, it can't be on the Switch. But I don't like things being locked behind being one platform unless it's something that they started obviously themselves. Like God of War being on PlayStation makes sense. They have their own studio, they make games for their own system, of course. But just paying for it to be not on another system or another store or something like that, another service, I don't really like that personally. It's not like I think they're necessarily doing anything wrong. I think it's more just kind of like bad business. Because of course, if it comes out that they're doing that, maybe some developers or some consumers won't like it, and obviously it could go against them. I'm not sure if it was confirmed that they are in fact actually doing this. I'm assuming it's true, just because if Microsoft is saying that, then that would make sense. But yeah, like it's funny because they were like, "Oh, Call of Duty's not going to be on our system anymore." You know, Microsoft, you suck. But it's kind of like, I don't know. Were they already doing this, and then or are they now doing it because of Microsoft buying, Bethesda and Activision, and Sony's getting scared? So instead of acquiring more studios themselves or something, they're like, okay, well, let's use our money, lock some stuff out of their service to make our service look a bit better. I can't tell if it was like something they're already doing or a reaction thing. Either way, I don't think it's great. I'm not overly hurt because Game Pass seems to still have a lot of good stuff, and I would just hope that if they're paying it for something to not be on Game Pass, then it better be on PlayStation Extra, because they have to make that still be good in order for anybody to stay subscribed to it. But I don't know, it's kind of a tough one. I have to admit, this one is a little bit of a tough one for me.
So one thing I'm just going to add right there, because you did say like you hope it goes on Extra because you want them to succeed. One thing that Microsoft did claim in the report is that they claim that Sony does not want attractive subscription services to threaten its dominance in the digital distribution market for console games, arguing, in other words, Sony rails against the introduction of new monetization models capable of challenging its business model.
Oh, so yeah, no, I don't like that at all. Yeah, because it's kind of like, well, listen, if you want your game on the PlayStation Store, then you can't have it on Xbox Game Pass. Like, I understand being like, listen, we want it on PlayStation Extra, but then we don't also want it on Game Pass, so we'll buy the rights for it to be on our service. I think they're just saying that one.
I think they're just kind of actually saying, hey, we're going to pay you to not put it on Game Pass, and then that way it becomes an equal playing field in terms of you can buy it on PSN or you can buy it on Xbox Marketplace.
Yeah, that's
so because they don't have, like, obviously, and I don't think anyone's arguing that PlayStation Extra or whatever the hell the next one is. No one actually does that one. No one thinks that they are equivalent services, and so I think PlayStation is trying to, instead of climb up to compete with Microsoft on the Game Pass, they're trying to pull it down and say, no, we're playing down in our area where you're still buying your games more often than not.
Yeah, that's shady business. I don't know. That seems kind of weird because then does Microsoft come back to developer like, no, listen, they're going to pay you 500,000 to go on no service. We'll give you 600,000 to go on Game Pass. And it just becomes like a bidding war for games to either be on a streaming service or not. I don't know. That's kind of interesting.
See, I definitely see how this is anti-consumer in the strictest sense, but like I don't think this is much different than what it was before. I mean, like we've always had these console wars, and you think of was it Rise of the Tomb Raider or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the second one, and
Oh,
that one was
yes.
like an Xbox exclusive, right? Timed exclusive on the Xbox. Like, is this much different from that, where they say, hey, we're gonna pay you a certain amount to not immediately release on Game Pass? Like, I think there's a good argument to be made that like Sony and Microsoft are still competing, but in different ways. Like they have different strategies now. Uh, Xbox is going more the service route, and PlayStation is still very much in the traditional. And albeit I am the old man, and I still like the old. I buy my games and I own my games. I'm not looking for a subscription service, where they're trying to get you to buy the game and just buy it once and pay for it. And so, for them to go out and say, "Hey, we want to keep it so that people can buying it from our store," so I don't think there's anything wrong. I can see how it sucks for the consumer and for those who are on Game Pass, but I don't think this is any different from when companies used to go in and buy exclusivity or timed exclusive DLC exclusives. We've had that for years. I mean,
Yes.
Call of Duty did that with Xbox, and then they did it with PlayStation. Like you've always had these deals where it's like get it first on this or get this bonus if you go on here. I think this is just a continuation of it. Does it suck? Sure, but I think Sony has to, because if they say, well, you can buy it from us or for the same price you'd pay for it. Like I think of Cult of the Lamb, $20-$30 game. That's the price of a month of of Game Pass. That it's like, why would I buy it on PlayStation if I have an Xbox too? So like they're trying to go for that middle ground. Either the people who have both, or they're trying to pull people from Microsoft or keep them from going to Microsoft. And I think, does it suck? Yes, but I think this is just how exclusivity works when you have two people playing on the same board game, but they're playing by different rules.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. And I can see how for developers, one, it could get confusing, but two, it's kind of like say they're offered, $600,000 to go on Game Pass and only 500,000 to go not on Game Pass with PlayStation. I can see how a developer even would be kind of torn on what to do there too, because if you don't go on Game Pass, that means you'll only do the sales instead of it being on a subscription service. So you get the 500,000 plus a lot more sales versus the 600,000 on a subscription service, and then like less sales on other platforms. So
Yeah, but then you also like from the developer standpoint. I mean, I would imagine, and I don't have numbers here, but I'd imagine it's a no-brainer that if they said, "Hey, we're going to give you 500,000 to not go on Game Pass," you now have the sales with the 30% cut from Sony. You have it from their PlayStation Store. That's called a callback. Uh, so you have those sales, and then what ends up happening is 6 months, 8 months, whenever your contract's up, you then go to Microsoft and be like, "Hey, our contract's up. You want to pay us to go on Game Pass now?" And Microsoft say, "Probably, yeah. We're not
yeah,
going to pay you as
probably.
much, but like we'll still give you, a third of what we were going to give you a year ago." Like, and now they're double dipping. They're playing both against each other.
Ooh, yeah.
Like
As a
two, like,
developer, this could be fun, but as a consumer, yeah, this is not fun as a
oh
consumer.
yeah, we're the ones that are totally getting screwed over by this. But yeah, like from the business perspective, I totally see why everyone is doing what they're doing, and I can see why Sony is crying. Like, I feel this is the thing I hate. I feel like Sony's whining about, oh, we're gonna lose the exclusivity of Call of Duty. It's too important. We can't let that happen. Sorry, Sony. Like Microsoft just played a hand, and they had a good hit, and now you're crying that, oh, we're like, this isn't fair. No, we're both playing the same game, and they got a system. If you liked it, should have put a ring on it. You should have bought it yourself. It's like
Yeah.
Microsoft has that kind of money that they can throw it around, and Sony doesn't. Sony has great studios, and I don't know necessarily. We've talked about how important it is, but like Sony built up a lot of its studios from the ground up, and Microsoft is just acquiring them. A different strategy, and it sucks that we're not getting new stuff. Like it sucks that they're taking stuff away. But like if it was that important to Sony, I'm sure they had talks about this. Like they should have. Like it's just the way it is. This is the corporate game that they're playing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a really interesting time, I would say, for gaming and everything. Because before it was just, which if you made a game for a Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo, like it plugged into one system, you were done. There wasn't a lot of like acquisitions and all that kind of stuff. Now, like the playing field's a whole different ball game, whole different. Because if Microsoft didn't make Game Pass, I don't know what Microsoft would be doing right now. Like I don't. I'm sure people would still buy some Xboxes and still be playing some games on it, like probably get the Halo and stuff, but they would not be having the numbers that they're having right now. I don't think, at least.
Oh, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, they just played a good hand.
Yeah, it's working for them, and we're in a situation where you've got two different ways of doing things. Sony is the traditional way, and there are people like myself who like that traditional way of doing it, but Xbox is the future of, probably what games are going to be. Like we saw it with Netflix, and it's going to happen with gaming here, and like it's the disruption is what's going to throw them off, and like they have to figure out how they adapt and how they respond, and this is just the growing pains of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, let's wrap it up. That's everything we had on the docket. Chris, I don't know if Adam's ever complained about this on your show, Cartridges and Quarters, but we play a little game here every week called Trophy Stumpers.
So I've listened to you guys play Trophy Stumpers.
Yeah? What's your...
try play along, and I suck, so I'm not...
All right. Well, I've got 10 trophies for you. You have 2 guesses. You can guess at any time. Those of you listening, you guys can play along and see if you can get it before Chris does. Let's get going. So, first trophy, taking inventory.
That could be too many things. There's too many things that have inventory. No, not yet.
Cow tipper.
Oh, what?
Third one is time to mine. Fourth is on a roll.
Okay,
Fifth.
I'm gonna... Oh, go ahead.
What do you got?
I was going to say Deep Rock Galactic.
It is not Deep Rock Galactic. Okay, so far we have taking inventory, cow tipper, time to mine, on a roll, when pigs fly, sniper duel.
Sniper duel.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
What do you got? What kind of, like, where's your head going? What kind of...
And now I started going... I'm stuck on the stupid tipping cows. I started to think of Destroy All Humans 2 or whatever that, or remake or whatever had just come out. And but no. As soon as there was like Sniper Duel.
Okay. Number 7, It's a Sign. Number 8, Getting Wood.
Okay, wait. No.
We want me to go over the trophies again?
No, I have another... Getting Wood.
So we got taking inventory, cow tipper, time to mine, on a roll, when pigs fly, sniper duel, It's a Sign, Getting Wood.
The Sniper Duel. That one, because I was going to say like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or something like that, or one of the games where you're collecting wood, or maybe Valhalla. But the Sniper Duel doesn't make sense now. What?
Number 9 is renewable energy.
Okay.
And number 10. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What were you thinking? Where
This sounds like Fortnite or something now, with like the random things thrown in there.
Fair enough. Number 10, Iron Man.
Iron Man. Okay.
So we've got... I'll go in reverse order. Maybe that'll get you something. So we have Iron Man, renewable energy, Getting Wood, It's a Sign, Sniper Duel, When Pigs Fly, On a Roll, Time to Mine, Cow Tipper, and Taking Inventory.
Iron Man.
Adam,
is it the Avengers game? No,
it is not. Adam, were you looking at the trophies, or do you have a guess?
As I accidentally hit the full screen thing because I was laughing really, really hard, this would have been the fastest one for me because I knew the answer to this by 2.
Okay. What do you think it is?
It's Minecraft.
It is Minecraft.
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I figured there was some that were obvious there. Like I was trying to get you what game has mining, cows, and pigs. The Sniper Duel was a little bit of a throw, to kind of throw you off a little bit, because I like a couple of those were easy. What is the sniper duel?
See, the problem is Chris, unfortunately, I don't think he's ever played Minecraft. I still haven't gotten
No.
I still haven't suckered him
How
in
have
yet.
you never played Minecraft?
It's installed so I can actually play with him one day, but we just never have yet. I mean, I've seen a lot of Minecraft. I should have known that. I even played the Telltale series.
Wait,
story mode.
So you played the Minecraft Telltale game, but you've never opened up Minecraft?
Priorities.
You are like top 1% in terms of like people who've done that, because I don't think there's a lot.
Chris, Minecraft Dungeons is still on Game Pass. You should probably get that one in too before you play Minecraft.
Is there any other like story mode version of Minecraft games coming out?
I
could
think they're supposed to be producing another one as we speak. There is another one. I can't think of the name of it.
That game is fantastic, but I mean, I do want to play Minecraft, and I should have freaking noticed. It's like wood mining.
In hindsight, yeah, it's one of those like once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, honestly, you should definitely play Minecraft. Like, go buy it, go download it, whatever. That is the perfect game just to keep on your hard drive. Because if you ever like feel like playing a video game, but you don't want to get caught up with something, it is the best game to just chill out and zen with and just build. Like, whether you're doing the survival mode or whether you're doing it, like, it's really like the perfect zen game. You throw on a podcast or you just chill out and just listen to the music and just build. It's so relaxing. It's very therapeutic.
All right, I have it installed on my PC. I'm gonna throw it also on the Xbox, and then that way, no matter where I am, eventually I'm gonna see it and be like, all right, you know what? Today's the day.
Yeah,
I'm gonna mine some craft.
And I play it with some friends, but it's honestly just as much fun playing it by yourself and just sort of like, hey, I'm gonna build like I still remember what my island looks like, and it just was like a hole in the ground at first, and then it became more and more, and build a deck and get the materials. Such a fun little game to play, and like you can just play it for half an hour, shut it off, and then go do something else and come back. It's fantastic.
Now I have to get all those trophies for it too. So I know I got to knock over a cow.
Oh, there are achievements within Minecraft that you can get.
Yeah.
What?
So just for context, the one that threw you off, the sniper. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That was essentially sniper duel. Kill a skeleton with an arrow from more than 50 meters.
Ah, dang it. See, if it had referenced maybe the bow and arrow, I would have come back to it. Also, like I said, I suck at that game. When I play along, when you guys do it, when I'm listening to the podcast, I'm like, oh, it's this, and it'll be like Sly Cooper, and I'm like, what? My guess was like Project Cars. How the hell?
Awesome.
I mean, to be fair, I couldn't get Mass Effect friggin' 2, so you know.
Oh, and after all the shit talking you did, like it was just like chef's kiss. Mwah.
Yeah, especially you, Adam. You should definitely be able to get Mass Effect 2.
We've been through this. That trophy list was way more complicated than I remember. Okay.
Yeah, so is Minecraft's.
Not a true Mass Effect fan. I get it.
So okay, well, that's BioWare's fault, not mine.
Cool. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. You want to do a quick plug for your show with Adam?
Yeah, like you should definitely check out the sister show, Cartridges and Quarters. We're really, really, really good at bashing Square Enix. It's our favorite thing to do. But it's also Square's fault with that. Let's be honest. They keep releasing crap or doing crap as a business. But yeah, it's a fun show where it's not a lot of recent news, obviously, because there's only so many retro collections that can get announced. And we were like thinking maybe the premium PlayStation Plus plan would have boosted conversation about PlayStation retroness, and guess what? PlayStation's not actually followed through with that either. But yeah, if you feel like just talking about some retro games and instead of listening to the complicated current news of video games and just want to talk about the time that Sonic released another, collection of its games for the 900th time and how awesome they're probably not anymore because of, again, current Sega versus old. Yeah, definitely check us out. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, the past is fun too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to send in your own ideas or suggestions for trophy stumpers, you can email us at pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on our socials by searching for PixelPlaycast. We are on Instagram and Twitter. We also have a Discord if you want to join us there, talk to fellow fans and ourselves. We'd really appreciate that. And if you are listening to us and you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. We greatly appreciate that. And leave us a review wherever you are listening. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you guys next week, so long as Adam recovers and doesn't get worse from the coronavirus. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show. Have a great week.